Alright guys, I want to talk about something today, kind of a new twist on the speed versus accuracy debate. The answer is obviously yes. You can't miss fast enough in a gunfight, and if you're second in a gunfight, you're the first loser. So the answer is really simple. You know, is speed more important or is accuracy more important? And the answer is yes. But I wanted to put a different spin on that today because speed is something that involves your physicality. It is something that is governed to a certain degree. There is some technique involved in things like efficiency and stuff, but by and large, when we look at it, it's a matter of physicality. Uh, Whereas accuracy is a matter of technique. If you're not manipulating the trigger properly, if you're not gripping it right, if you're not managing the recoil properly, all of these things, they become matters of technique. And when we look at combatives as a whole, there's a real heavy emphasis on strike first, strike fast, violence of action. And I by no means diminish those things. Those are important aspects of combatives. However, when it comes to training, if I'm so focused on those things, if I'm so focused on winning the fight per se, that I'm not actually learning the technique properly, then I'm actually doing myself a disservice. And I say that to say this. Everything that we do physically, it's got limitations. You could be the most crossfitest ninja around. It really makes no difference. Physically, you have limitation. Your body has limitations. There is a point at which you will not get stronger. There is a point at which you will not get faster, or you will not get more endurance. However, the one asset that you have available to you that has zero limitations is your mind. If you can learn the technique and you can get those down and you can become more focused on the learning and on gaining the technique, and then gradually start to implement strength and endurance and things like that into it, then you've got something to work with. Um, there was a time back in the 80s, there was a fad that was going around back in the 80s, this guy named Billy Blanks, that went around teaching a cardio kickboxing that was called Taibo, and everybody was buying this thing, and I still hear it today. I mean, people don't necessarily refer to Taibo, but I still hear it today. The soccer moms coming up talking about how they do kickboxing. No, you don't. You do cardio kickboxing. Now, what's the difference between that and Muay Thai? Because some of these soccer moms and stuff, I mean, they get in there and they pound that bag or they throw their punches and kicks and all that for, 30 minutes straight. And some of these Muay Thai guys, they'll get in the ring and they'll hit pads and stuff for 30 minutes straight. So what's the difference? The difference is the technique. All right? Anybody can get up there and just randomly throw punches or throw punches in a set sequence and stuff for a specific amount of time and build that cardio and build that endurance. But what you end up with is you end up with this hollow shell. You end up with Taibo. You end up with the endurance aspect and the physical aspect, but none of the mental aspect. There's nothing there. There's no substance there. Versus the Muay Thai guy who spends the same amount of time but devotes it to Muay Thai, and he learns the proper way to kick, and he learns the proper way to throw a punch, and he learns how to throw the elbows, and he's doing all of these things, but the difference between him and the soccer mom is that he's learning the proper technique, and then he's gradually building the endurance aspect into that. So he builds the endurance and the physicality onto his technique. He doesn't start off with the physicality and then try and get some technique out of it. And that is something that that I see a lot of. I see, particularly like in the shooting community now, you see a lot of people with this heavy emphasis on lifting weights and shooting, or running and shooting, or punching bags and shooting, and stuff like that. And guys, I'm just here to tell you, cardio for the sake of cardio is Taibo. That's all it is. It's just Taibo. If you're not actually learning the fundamentals and you're not actually committing those things to a subconscious level where you've got the time and you've got the repetitions and you're building all these things in, if you're not at that level, all you're doing by adding measures of cardio and strength and weight training into your shooting regime is actually slowing your progress down. Get to the point where your shooting is solid. Get to the point where your punching and kicking is solid. Get to the point where you understand the technique, and then gradually increase the cardio, increase the resistance, increase the weight. The whole purpose is to raise that heart rate up so that you now have another factor to deal with in addition to your proper technique. So I'm by no means removing the need for the physicality in your training. But physicality for the sake of physicality is nothing but Taibo. Alright? So that was something that I wanted to kind of put out there. I hope this kind of resonates with some people. The physicality is not the enemy. It's just the enemy to those who don't know what they're doing when it comes to shooting. So while you may end up with some, Ranger 6 Recon Ninja SEAL showing some kind of move that involves a lot of physicality, it's great for him because this guy's squared away and he knows what he's doing. But if you don't yet know what you're doing and you're not at that level and you try and implement those things, it's actually detrimental to your learning progress. So, no. Not physicality for the sake of physicality. Not stress for the sake of stress. Not strength just for the sake of strength. All right, that we call that weight training. We call it marathon running. It doesn't make you a warrior. It just makes you good at running long distances. So keep that in mind. Something I wanted to share with you guys. All right.